And so here we are, the Leyton house is finished, and I'm just going to say one or two things about it. Mainly the good and bad things I found with the kit, the photo etch kit, and the decals, both the carbon and the normal ones. As you know, the kit is Tamiya. Photo etch and all the decals are from Studio 27. So the kit itself, it's the Tamiya, which is a good thing. All went together very good as usual, but this time I have two things to say that aren't that good. One of them is this top cover, which is the access for the front suspension, I believe, which seated a bit too tall in here. So I had to remove the two portions that are inside, which serves as a contact point for this cover. So I removed them so it the cover itself lowered a little bit and was leveled with the rest of the body. The other thing is about the exhaust. One side fitted correctly, but this one was, how do I say, didn't align properly with the final tip. So I have to move around and fiddle with the engine and etc, so it was perfectly aligned. I don't know if this is a common thing with this kit or not, but happened to me. The decals, well, I have a lot to say about the decals, not because they're good or bad, but it was my first experience with carbon decals, and I mean, they never end. You cover almost everything on a Formula 1 car with carbon. Here in the chassis, this scoop, the oil deposit, the front wing, the rear wing, brake ducts, etc, everything is covered with carbon. So it is a really consuming experience to cover all these parts with carbon fiber decals. One thing I have to say about them is that they are, specifically these ones from Studio 27, is that they are very stiff. I mean stiff, not thick, they're not thick, but stiff. For them to get in their right position and all the contours, etc, I had to, I don't know, use microsaw about 4 or 5 times for each decal, because they took a while to adapt themselves to the surface. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, because they are not that strong. If you apply a little more pressure to it, it simply cracks like every other decal. So in this particular case, they were pretty stiff. The other decals, well, they're pretty normal, good printing. They weren't as stiff as the carbon fiber ones, and I don't remember having any kind of trouble with them, so nothing much to say about them except they are pretty good. Now, going for the photo etch kit. One thing I found, because this is not the first Studio 27 photo etch kit that I've used, and one thing that I found in common with other Studio 27 photo etch is that their instructions are really bad. I mean, I'm an experienced modeler, but someone with a little less experience and wants to apply some photo etch parts to a kit with those instructions, he will be completely lost, because not only they don't mention every part they bring in the photo etch sheet, and in some parts you're not sure where the part goes. And I mean, for example, here in the radiator you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts for each radiator, 2 here at the front and 3 in the back. So you have the mesh, if you want to call it, and then you have a little grid cover, and then here at the middle of the duct you have some kind of protection from dust, whatever. And in the instructions you only see a tiny little reference from approximately the position of it, and you don't know if that protection goes here in the middle of the duct, more at the front, more at the back, or near the radiator. You can tell. So for me that's a pretty bad thing about this photo etch kit. The instructions are not clear, and lots of parts missing there that you don't know where they go, whatever. So this is a bad part. The other thing has to do with the rear wing, because these parts, the horizontal parts of the rear wing, are from the kit, but these vertical plates are from the photo etch kit. And what happens is that you have the outside part, the inside part, and here you have a little, well, extra something, I don't know how to call it. And the problem is that the horizontal part of the wing is made specifically to fit with the vertical part of the kit. And if you're making a photo etch kit, maybe you should try and produce it, well, barely the same way as the original part, because I had to cut lots of parts here at the horizontal part of the wing, so it could, well, touch the entire surface of the vertical plate. And then the second problem is, since we have, as I've said, 3 parts, one outside, one inside, and this little fin, the part gets heavy. So with a heavy part like this, adding another one and a very small contact surface, if you don't have any reference or guiding points, whatever, that slots that fit into that part, the assembly itself will be very fiddly. You never know. I mean, to be sure, I glued this part 3 times with CA glue, and I'm not entirely sure if it will hold. I mean, I guess it will, but only time will tell. So that's another problem. Other than that, the photo etch kit has very good quality detail on it. Some are not visible. I've made for the brakes too, but you really can't see, so I won't bother trying to show you. So for me, those 2 things that I've said, both the instructions and the rear wing, are something to consider with this photo etch kits. Sorry. To end, it was my first time that I used the tire stencil, and I'm quite happy with the results. They are not perfect, not near, but it's pretty acceptable, and I like the way they look, because you don't have that shine of the decal on the flat rubber tire. so it looks a lot better like this. I plan to use them more times in the future, so I can gain a little more experience how to adjust it, how to position it, etc, etc, but I like the way they look in the end, and I'll be planning to use them in the future. So I guess that's it for the Leyton house. It's a kit I was planning to do again, because it was one of those that I've made when I was a young kid, and I don't have to tell you, it didn't end pretty well for it, so I had to do it again. So this is the end. Leyton house ready. Group build on the road and tracking scale Facebook group, which I've managed to finish it in time, and time for new things. We will see in the next one. So take care, guys, and see you later.